Hello everyone and welcome to my review today of the 2023 Honda Pilot TrailSport. This is an all-new generation of Pilot leading the way of what will be a new platform for the Passport, the Odyssey and the Ridgeline. So what you see here, very likely you're going to see in those vehicles in the very near future when they go through their regeneration. As I'm sure you know, the Pilot is the mid-size 3-row SUV that's a minivan on the inside without the minivan exterior. Unfortunately, there's a lot of bad rap that still goes towards minivans. They're undesirable in the eyes of many. So Honda has put the effort in to make this vehicle more desirable than ever, and with the TrailSport that I'm driving specifically, give it even more off-road credentials compared to the previous generation that got that name debut with the Pilot and the Passport. So let's get cracking on what's new. Like I said, all new platform, so this vehicle is now longer and wider with more space inside than the outgoing model. It has the same basic foundations for its 3.5 litre naturally aspirated transverse mounted V6, but the change for this generation is that we now have dual overhead cams. Gives another 5 horsepower, doesn't really change around fuel economy, but what it does do is significantly reduce the amount of pollutants that come out of the tailpipe of this product, and that's very important for emissions regulations, and I don't think anybody wants a more polluting car than they have to. So with that change, pollutants are down from 40 to 50%. It's also paired to a new 10-speed automatic transmission, and in Canada we only get the Pilot with all-wheel drive. So the powertrain components, what can I tell you about them? The 3.5 litre V6, fairly responsive, it feels quite refined, and even when you really push into it, it doesn't rattle about the interior. It's clear that this product is more refined overall than the outgoing one. Becoming an engine with dual overhead cams means that we actually lose VTEC, so we lose that raspy, twangy little hint of excitement at the end of the rev range. Even though Honda says VTEC is still a part of this motor, it is more marketing talk than it is mechanical engineering. So if you're a Honda enthusiast, maybe that will be of some level of disappointment to you, but I don't know how many enthusiasts go out and buy 3-row family SUVs specifically for the engine under the bonnet. The 10-speed transmission to me is the biggest letdown of the powertrain. It feels very much like it's a first-year integration. 80% of the time, I think there's absolutely no worries with it, but occasionally it hiccups off its changes. It gets bogged down if the automatic stop-start hasn't engaged and you're doing that slow creep forward in traffic, and sometimes I've noticed a clunk or a jolt. So it's a new transmission, I'm sure it will be improved, but leaving behind the old 9-speed transmission, I don't really know how necessary that was. You still have the same push button arrangement for gear selection, which I know a lot of people don't like. We've got different driving modes ranging from eco, normal, sport, and then a few modes pertaining to off-road, so snow, trail, sand, and then also a tow mode. The suspension is nicely calibrated, certainly soft. We've got 1 more inch of ground clearance in the TrailSport as opposed to the other Pilots, and some other changes include skid plates here on the TrailSport, knobbier all-terrain tires with unique rims, a softer anti-roll sway bar up front, and also a rear differential that can handle up to 20% more torque. I haven't driven the other trims of this new generation of Pilot, so no way that I can do some comparison, but the TrailSport is most likely going to be the most desirable model. It looks a little more butch, it's got this very trendy baby blue exterior paint, and the interior gets some nice unique trimmings with the orange stitching throughout that I think a lot of people will be attracted to. Other aspects of driving, I do think there's a little bit of play here on center, and overall I think the steering is too light, and then adding on to the fact that the suspension is quite soft, you can really lean into some corners if you try to carry it with any sort of speed at all. So the body control isn't totally there. However, if you're using this as a 7 or 8-seater vehicle, which with the TrailSport, it is only a 7-seater here in Canada, you're going to be very conscious of the people on board. So you're probably not going to want to take any highway on-ramps with any degree of enthusiasm. Couple quick notes before we stop talking about the driving dynamics. Even though these are all-terrain tires and you can really hear the difference of sound being transmitted through the cabin depending on the tarmac quality, even on the worst conditions, I think it's perfectly acceptable for interior noise. It doesn't seem like these all-terrain tires are letting down the livability of this product at all. Now let's talk about the interior, because if you're buying a Pilot, this is what really matters to you. So first of all, I am 6'4". I can happily sit and probably stay there for a good amount of driving in each row of seating. The second row, plenty of space for my head. Third row, actually a good amount of my head too. And even if you put the seat back in its furthest position in the second row, I will have my knees pressed up against the back of the second row, but it isn't painful or annoying. I feel like I've got plenty of shoulder room back there, so that's very good. The second row features the same one button press for the seats to quickly slide out of the way, making it very easy for anybody to get in and out, especially children. And with that third row of seating up, you aren't left with abysmal space in the trunk. There is a good amount there for a couple of carry-on suitcases, no doubt, and there is some hidden storage below. Plus you will find the spare tire mounted underneath, and here on the TrailSport it does get the same all-terrain tire, which is good to see. Some manufacturers cheap out on that kind of a thing and give you the run-of-the-mill standard size tire. So interior practicality top marks for the new generation of Pilots. And then finally talking about the actual design of the cabin here. I've been in a lot of Hondas recently. A lot of them are copy and paste interiors for this new generation of cost cutting and minimizing components, and at the end of the day it's a car business. They've got to find their margin somehow. It is a little bit different here in the Pilot in terms of its design and componentry, but not that different. You still have great build quality, nice clickiness to all of the buttons. The touchscreen has wireless Apple CarPlay, and there is storage space abound. There's a huge cavity right in front of the front seat passenger. You'll see that the door cards have multiple spaces for things in them, and it's clear this lower door card is probably going to be a carryover component for something like the Odyssey, which also would prioritize interior storage space above anything else. Also, with the seat backs here for the driver and front passenger, you'll see that you have a pocket, but then an also little separate space specifically for a phone. And I'll give my quick opinion here on the exterior design of the new Pilot. I like how it's a little bit harder edged, but not so brawny that it feels out of place. The last generation car was quite soft edged and maybe a little bit dowdy in its looks. This is still a big box, but it looks much more confident in itself. So let's conclude my thoughts here with the Honda Pilot. It's obviously a vehicle that succeeds at its mission in hand to be a large 3-row family SUV. The difference now is that it has much more desirable looks. It has a little more off-road capability in this TrailSport version, and it's updated with all of the latest stuff that Honda offers on the inside. I don't think the driving dynamics are best in class, nowhere close to it, but it's very calm, quite soft, and if you're going to be using this vehicle as a day-to-day runabout or long road tripper, it totally fulfills its mission. And for that, I can't be disappointed in it, and I'm sure you wouldn't be either. If you're getting out of the old model and into the new one, you'll notice the change of the interior, you'll notice the additional refinement, but I don't think it is a huge step over the model that's now defunct. So there you have it. Those are all my thoughts. Thank you very much for taking the time to watching this video, and I hope to see you again on the channel soon.